meeting to order. Need approval of the agenda if there are no changes.
So moved.
Motion support. All in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? None. Passes unanimously. Public comment. We have public comment. Is there any public comment out there? Apparently there's no public comment. We'll move on to committee items. Item A, I need approval of the minutes. Approval, motion and support. All in favor indicate by saying aye. Aye. Those opposed? None. Next up, item on the agenda, item B, finance report. Welcome, Jim.
Good afternoon, Mr. Chairman, committee members. We're presenting to you the first month of the new fiscal year. And you can hear me better now. And so our benchmark normally is 8.3%. However, for the month of January, we actually had 3 payrolls. So payroll expenses should be at 11.5%. Certain departments appear to be ahead of the pace. However, that's mainly due to the payment of annual maintenance agreements and annual dues, including outstanding organizations like MAC and ICMA. And other costs throughout the year, we pay for our property and liability insurance up front, typically, so that puts us over in a number of categories. And otherwise, be happy to answer your questions. Well, if we consider 3 payrolls, that's 3 out of 26 pays, so that's 11.5%. So theoretically, anything over 11.5%, we would want to explain that, and in most cases, that's because of dues being paid in January for the whole year, and insurance and so forth.
Okay, thank you. Questions, comments, discussion? Thank you, Jim. Next up, we have the Sheriff's Department. We're going to change the agenda just a bit here.
Yeah.
Welcome, Sheriff.
Thank you, Mr. Commissioner. I only have a proposal for vehicles. As you know, we budgeted 2 vehicles for this year, and I wanted to amend. Our intent was always to purchase Dodge Chargers until the winter we just experienced occurred, and I think it would be prudent to probably have some all-wheel drive vehicles in our fleet. And I would like to purchase 2 Ford Explorer police package vehicles. We currently use our Marine Division units, which one of them is a 1997, another one's a 2001. We have a newer one that's a 2011, but those older ones, I don't know how much longer they'll be valuable to us as far as using in patrol. So that's what I'm requesting, and we use the Macomb County bid, which is $2 less than the My Deal bid, and we are hoping to get them partially outfitted so they come to us with the light package and so forth on them.
Okay.
I'd move the request.
Motion and support. All in favor indicate by saying aye. Aye. Those opposed? None. You have your vehicles.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir. Next up, we have County Treasurer. Welcome, Karen.
Good afternoon, all. Okay, I've got several documents that I distributed via email to all of the commissioners, and hopefully you've had a chance to review those. I'm not going to go through December monthly reports or January monthly reports. You have those. I do want to spend some time talking about the February 2014 report, as that talks about where we are in the foreclosure cycle, and I want to highlight that. And then, if I may, we can open up the annual report that I submitted, and we can go through that and highlight and have an opportunity to answer questions if that is so needed. So where we are in February of 2014, just a quick down and dirty with the portfolio, where certificates of deposit are 7% of the portfolio, $3.4 million you see there. Money markets were at $8.2 million, which is 16%. And the largest share still is Treasuries and Agencies, $39 million, holding at 77% of the total portfolio. We do have some revenue updates to provide. We're at, for delinquent tax collection so far yet this year, we're at $598,000. For dog licenses, we're at $31,000, and that's truly indicative of our February 28th deadline. We have a lot of people that come in to the office to pick up the doggy licenses prior to that deadline. After February 28th, the fees increase. So you'll see that we have a large portion of what we have budgeted already in for dog licenses. Passports, we're just at $3,000. I'm going to go ahead and scroll through here. Maybe. How do I advance to the next page? I'm very careful, I don't want to mess this up. Page down? Have to manually scroll? Okay. All right, thank you. Okay, so this next page just shows the breakdown of the holdings that we have. And there's our monthly pooled interest. We allocated just under $600 of interest out to these different departments. And you will see also the unallocated interest for February. Okay, here are the two charts that I want to spend just a moment on. As you recall, March 1st is where we have two cycles that we are dealing with in the Treasurer's office. March 1st of 2014, we have our new forfeitures. That is those tax delinquent parcels that come from the local units to us. And you'll see here, this is the very beginning of the cycle for this year, and we received 2,500 parcels. And the good news is, as compared to last year, March 1st, we're down. With last March, we had 2,588, we're at 2,509. So that is good news. Means we have less parcels that we have to go through the foreclosure and collection process. So I'm not sure what that is indicative of, other than maybe there are people, taxpayers getting assistance through the Step Forward program. I think that that has an impact on that number. But regardless, it's a good number because it means it's less that are coming to the Treasurer's office for collection. Here's the other chart that I wanted to show you. This is the end. This chart shows the end of the collection process. These are the pending potential foreclosures that we could see at end of March 31st of this year. We are holding at 628 parcels. Now, how you read this chart here is we began that cycle receiving in 2,588 parcels. So we collected and worked very hard over the past 25 months to get that number down. We're holding at 628 parcels. That's 24%. You can see compared to this time last year that it was 31%, so we're doing really well as far as decreasing that number of total foreclosures. I think this chart also indicates where the townships, so you have that information to take back to your local constituents to let them know what possible foreclosures could happen in your areas. The city, again, has a significant number of pending foreclosures at 306. We will continue to collect all the way up until March 31st. Hopefully, we'll get that number down. Generally, we do. If you recall, last year we foreclosed on 277. So we hope to get down below that number by March 31st. Commissioner Lechka? What that indicates is that there was no change in parcels as far as those that were redeemed from the month previous. That's all that indicates. So what that chart is saying is that all the townships other than Grass Lake received in a payment of some type on a parcel, taking it off of that foreclosure pending list. Okay? If there's no questions about the February month end, if I may, I would like to take some time to go through the annual report that I prepared for you. It's a 16-page document. It's quite comprehensive. I do include a lot of data and numbers, outputs. Those are all important when we are trying to justify what we do in our offices. The highlight for last year, 2013, in our office was focusing our efforts on foreclosure prevention. And we really took a three-pronged approach to that this past year. We were able to utilize state and federal funding in the form of Step Forward Michigan, which is through the Hardest Hit Program, or through MSHDA, the Michigan State Housing Development Authority. Because those federal dollars were available, we were able to assist a lot of taxpayers that were in financial need and experiencing financial hardship. So that was one approach that we focused our efforts on. We worked in partnership with Community Action Agency. With that, they acted as our liaison between MSHDA. So the people would come through our office, we would then direct them to Community Action Agency. Community Action Agency would assist the taxpayer in filling out the forms to determine whether or not they were eligible for the program, and then if they were eligible, we received in monies from the state of Michigan to help pay those delinquent taxes. Another partner that we worked with this past year in more detail is Legal Services of South Central Michigan. In the nature of what we do in our office, we encounter taxpayers that have legal issues. Most often we see issues where it's a probate issue where son or daughter is living in the house that mom and dad owned, still in their legal name of mom and dad, and has not gone through probate. When they come to us for assistance for tax payment or for delinquent taxes, we can't assist them because they are not the legal owner of the property. So we direct those people in those situations that they need to go through probate. Partnering with Legal Services has helped with that. Other issues that we've used Legal Services for is filling out the application for the Step Forward and other legal issues that you see. Some, and not as much, thankfully, this past year, but in the past couple of years, we've had quite a bit of foreclosure, mortgage foreclosure scams that were rampant in the area. So we've directed any and all people that we think may be wrapped up in that type of a situation over to them, and they were able to assist those people as well. So it's been a very productive process. Yes, Commissioner Duckham?
Yes, ma'am. The legal services, what can they do if the house is in a probate situation? Can they actually get a stay put on the...
Yes, what they do in that, depending on what the situation is, but generally, they help the taxpayer that's in the house go through the probate process at the district court level and fill out the court documents. Then an estate is opened at the court, and depending on what happens through that process, the best case scenario is that the deed would be transferred from mother or father or deceased relative into the new homeowner's name. And we've had that result happen in the past.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome. And then the last part of that three-pronged approach is we've really ramped up our hardship deferrals. That's part of our January hearing and our February hearing that we have every year, where the taxpayers come to us and let us know that they're experiencing difficulty. And it's just basically an extension for them to pay. Okay, what other highlights? We're continuing to look at partnering with the Register of Deeds office and looking at expanding our electronic filing. That's working out really well. Last year we started with certificates of forfeiture, and then this past year we looked at redemption certificate recordings. So we're looking at all ways to do automated services when and if it's applicable. You'll see some goals there that I've outlined for our office. Okay, the next couple of documents talks about the revenue that's generated to the general fund from the county treasurer's office. This next page talks about processing and outputs. These two tables show the credit card payments processing that we've received in since we implemented it in 2009. Just some information about where we ended at the end of the year with passports. And if you have any questions, feel free to ask me. I'm not going to go through and be very specific about these. Here's some information about the investment pool, but you get updates on that monthly from me. Okay, there's where we were at year's end with the total portfolio. This next section talks about the delinquent property tax administration, really outlines the process that we do in the treasurer's office. Here's some numbers. This chart settlement indicates those parcels that come to the treasurer's office through the settlement process, which means when the city and the townships turn over their uncollected parcels to us. And this is where I try to make sure we have enough funds available in the investment pool so that I can write the checks out to the local units where we effectively buy those taxes from them. So that chart just indicates that in 2012, we took over 11,000 parcels that were delinquent, and we wrote a check out to the local units totaling over $11.5 million. It is now March 10th. We are in the process of settlement right now, so I don't have any new numbers for you, but I anticipate that it's stayed pretty consistent, as you can see, from 2006 to 2012. I don't anticipate that it'll be any higher or lower. It'll probably be along the same trend. This just shows the 2011 tax timeline. It's a nice visual representation to share. Forfeiture, these are the new parcels that are come to us every March. Here's the visual showing you the numbers and the years, and then I also included another chart here that shows the actual tax base that comes to us from the local units that we take March 1st. Foreclosure prevention, I spent a great deal of time looking and reporting out on this section, explaining more in detail about how the partnerships worked this past year for foreclosure prevention. This next section talks about foreclosure and the numbers that we had from last year. Here's a nice chart representing that. And then I also included some detailed information based on townships, where we were when we foreclosed March 31st of last year. This shows you that we foreclosed on the 277 parcels, and it shows you, for example, in Henrietta Township, we had 5 that we foreclosed on, and that one indicates that one of those 5 was an improved property. So if you look at Rise, you'll see that there were 2 parcels we foreclosed on, but they were both vacant. So for Blackman, there were 13 total, and of that 13, 9 of those were improved. So this just shows you vacant lots versus an improved. Hopefully this information is useful for you. And interestingly enough, the Michigan Department of Treasury has been collecting this information from all of the county treasurers throughout the state of Michigan. It's a nice little graph that shows you, even though our numbers are not very good as far as forfeiture and foreclosure, we still have been trending less than the state of Michigan since 2009. You'll see the statewide foreclosure rate, for example, for 2012 was 16%, Jackson was at 12%. I spent some time talking about delinquent personal property tax. Here's a chart to show that revenue. And then lastly, a report out on the dog and kennel licenses, and there's another chart that shows the licenses issued and the total dollars that were generated as revenue. And that is it for my annual report. Are there any questions that I may answer? Yes, please.
On the first report, you had the dog licenses. That doesn't include any of the figures from the townships yet, or does it?
Yes, it does.
It does include the township?
It does.
Okay.
Well, yes, to a certain point, because when the townships come to us to talk about the settlement and turning over the taxes, they bring their little bag of dog licenses that has not sold, so we've not inputted those in as of yet, because we're still meeting with the townships. Does that answer your question? Yeah.
Just like to make a comment, Karen. Just appreciate a very thorough report here. Thank you.
You are welcome. Thank you.
Karen, thanks for letting the sheriff jump ahead of you.
No problem. Thank you.
Excuse me. Next up is item E, the Health Department, purchase of a new environmental health vehicle. Welcome, Rick.
Good afternoon, Mr. Chair, fellow committee members. You have before you a request to purchase a new health department vehicle. I would like permission to amend the motion to read, instead of a all-wheel drive, to be a front-wheel drive vehicle, and that the amount be changed from $23,089 to $19,049.
Discussion, Commissioner Elwell.
Rick, there was an argument in the original documents for having an all-wheel drive or four-wheel drive. Has that changed, or?
It became, this took place late Friday, where after some additional discussions, the health department felt that the all-wheel drive would be nice in certain conditions, but if it was the type of conditions that require an all-wheel drive, chances are they would not be out on a job site. So they changed to go with the front-wheel drive and spend the lesser amount of money.
Because realistically, you could have got a four-wheel drive pickup truck for around 19, could you not have? Or would that not work?
The pickup trucks really haven't been conducive to their work, even with the tonneau covers on the back, and that's why the director has been phasing those out.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you, that's my question also. So we have motion and support. Madam Clerk? You have motion? Okay. Support? Support. Okay, we have a motion and support to approve the purchase of a front-wheel drive vehicle. All in favor indicate by saying aye. Aye. Those opposed? None. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, next up, we have item F, facilities, grandstand repair.
Yeah, before you, a request to continue on with our grandstand repairs, a subject that's near and dear to me. We have a very unique building out at the grandstand, or out at the fairgrounds, and certainly we'd like to do our best to maintain that building.
Okay, and the repairs needed?
Yes, they are.
Okay, I mean, know what type of repairs needed?
These are,
Concrete?
yes, the majority are going to be concrete, some painting, some waterproofing.
Discussion? Commissioner Elwell?
Rick, part of this is carryover funding from the other part of the project that wasn't finished, correct? 22,000 of it, or?
Correct, 22,327.
I'd move the request.
A motion and support. All in favor indicate by saying aye. Aye. Thank you, sir.
Thank you, folks.
Passes unanimously. Next up, item G, Administrator Controller has a request. Wish to speak on this, Mike? Okay. Yeah, we have carryover year-end, $150,000. Commissioner Rice.
Not so much a question. Again, this was discussed during the study session. And in this case, I certainly will support sending it on to the full board in case there's any discussion at that time. But myself, I do not support this $50,000 for a study at the fair. I have talked to some fair members. Commissioner Lushka was one of them. He was very, very helpful in explaining things. My struggle with this is that we have a very strong strategic team that put together a wonderful presentation for us on 3 retreats. We got information for our budget. We also work in conjunction with Jackson 2020. We have commissioners. From my perspective, we have a lot of intelligent people in this county from the public that work at the county where we could put our heads together and, from my perspective, come up with a very important and viable plan for the fair, because obviously it is important that we do the right thing there, and to me it's very important that people that know the community of Jackson are part of this, and We also have MSU Extension that could be very helpful to us on this, and for us to go and spend $50,000 when we have all these other resources, I just find that a waste of taxpayers' money. Thank you.
Commissioner Elwell.
I support both of them, but I think I'll move to separate the two amounts.
Okay. Support? Okay, we have motion and support to separate each action item. All in favor indicate by saying aye. Aye. Passes unanimously. Opposed? None.
Mr. Chairman, I'd move the first portion now, which would be the 100,000 for the Cascades.
Okay, we have a motion and support to approve the $100,000 to the Cascades renovation. All in favor indicate by saying aye. Aye. Those opposed? None. Hang on a minute. Administrator Overton, did you wish to talk?
I do, thank you. In regard to the second part of that, the fair, let me explain a little more here. We aren't looking to engage a firm, outside firm in particular, to tell us what we should or should not do at the fairgrounds. That's not what it's all about. Frankly, the Fair Board has discussed this numerous times, has a whole lot of good ideas about what should or shouldn't be already. What they really have struggled with is how do we bring it all together from an engineering standpoint? What's the infrastructure under the ground, be it drains, electrical, all those kind of things. At the same time, on a fairgrounds master planning process would involve the public. So you would have significant meetings where you have renderings drawn up, again, by capable people to do the drawings of what it is or is not, and what's under there, and what is there, what should be there, and as well as apply, much like we did with Cascades, what those cost ramifications are, depending on what it is you're trying to do. So while I agree with Commissioner Rice that there's more than enough people who would love to be involved and have great ideas, we really don't have anybody on staff or who's come forward to volunteer their time to literally draw it all up from an engineering perspective and a design planner perspective, if you will. That's really what the cost is. It's not about having a meeting to decide what should be there. It's much more than that.
Thank you, Administrator Overton. Commissioner Elwell.
Mike, you kind of hit the nail on the head what I was going to point out, and that is the Cascades project. I think we paid, was it $54,000 or $50,000 to the engineering firm, the name escapes me, and they came up, yeah, Spicer Group, and they came up with a great plan. I see it much similar to that, and it isn't to spend $50,000, it's up to $50,000. And it's just, as I see it anyway, one person, it's a necessary element of making sure that we make the right decision long-term for the fairgrounds. So I'll be supporting it.
Thank you. Commissioner Lutchka. Okay.
I'd so move the request.
And we have motion and support. Commissioner Rice.
Once again, like I said, without a doubt, just like any other commissioner here or anybody in our community, I strongly believe that the fairgrounds needs to be utilized year-round. The community needs to have something more to attend in it throughout the year. But and again, I will support sending this to the full board. But I will say that spending $50,000 or even up to, I wish we had a specific number that was significantly less that we could consider at this point. But because of that, I can't. I personally can't support this, but I will support sending it on to the full board.
Thank you. All in favor indicate by saying aye. 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 Those opposed? Passes unanimously. Thank you. And thank you, Mike, for the explanation. I think it was helpful. Okay, moving on now to other business. We need to pay the claims. Motion and support to pay the claims. All in favor indicate by saying aye. 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 Those opposed? Passes unanimously. Don't believe we have any other minutes or any other reporting schedule. Was County Building Authority next month. Return to public comment. There's no public comment. Committee member comments. I'd just like to say, Mike, thanks for that explanation. That cleared a lot up for me on the fair master plan. Meeting adjourned.